Hola, kia ora. My name is Kieran Kelly and I am a scholar of genocide and imperialism. I stand unreservedly in support of Cuba as it faces a crisis brought about by the intensification of the genocidal embargo that has been imposed on it for 65 years. I use the term genocide advisedly. The United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide includes 5 acts considered to be genocidal if undertaken with the intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial or religious group as such. Among these acts are causing serious bodily or mental harm to the members of the group and deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. The logic of the blockade is inescapably genocidal. In order to exert political power, imperial power, over the sovereign territory of Cuba, the US openly seeks to inflict suffering on the people of Cuba. The genocidal intent is clear. The people of Cuba, the national group, is the target of the economic warfare designed to inflict destruction upon them. These actions are intended to cause suffering and death. It is only because the Cuban government has prioritized the welfare of ordinary people that the embargo has not created a failed state of immiseration, instability, inequality, and constant violence such as the US has created in other corners of the world. When Raphael Lemkin first coined the term genocide, he was referring to exactly the sort of actions taken by the US against Cuba. Actions which go beyond the embargo and have included the Bay of Pigs military invasion, many acts of economic sabotage, and acts of political and diplomatic destabilization. Lemkin explicitly referred to genocide as being war waged against peoples instead of military war waged against armies. Economic sanctions are used as a way of committing genocide that seems too soft to be genocidal. They are passive and incremental. They can be spun as being the imposition of annoyances and inconvenience rather than, say, the agonies of helplessly watching a loved one die of a treatable illness. But there is a logical flaw here that mirrors that of the so-called torture light techniques used by the US. If you are using levels of pain as a force of coercion, then niggling pain will only stiffen resistance. The acceleration to unfettered, cruel brutality is inevitable. From the beginning, the US exceeded its sovereign right to control its own trade and has used its economic might to force others to carry out its genocidal embargo policy. At first, its more powerful allies joined its Cold War enemies in defying its blockade to some extent. But in 1996, as Cuba was already suffering in the wake of the fall of the Soviet Union, the US decided to punish all foreign companies trading with Cuba. The process of forcing others to comply with its blockade has strengthened for 30 years, and it now openly uses a naval blockade to starve Cuba of desperately needed oil. When Lemkin wrote of genocide, he was describing the actions of a fascist empire. Though its power is less direct and more uneven than the Third Reich, the US has created a far larger fascist empire. The mask of free enterprise and liberal values has dropped, and we are all able, if we are willing, to see the fascism that was always there. The near-universal material support among governments and corporations for the Palestine genocide, as it continues to reach ever higher levels of one-sided destruction and mass murder, show us that most of the world's leaders are thralls to the fascist empire. Cuba suffers because it still resists that fascism. So I say, Viva Cuba and abajo el imperialismo.